Okay, thank you so much. We're here for the Light of the Infinite Tikkun HaKlali session. I'm just going to be recording and giving a little discourse on the topic, and if anyone has any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Happy to be here to get your back. So the topic of this festival that I'm speaking at right now, called Tikkun HaKlali, is a special prayer to be said at the wasting of the seed of mankind. So if a man wastes his seed, I think we all know what that means, or at least for the men watching this, there's a certain prayer to be said to nullify the evil that gets done from that. This all sounds so metaphysical, so let's just take a deep breath. Let's go behind the scenes and see what's actually going on here, and we'll get to the end. We'll understand. So, a few things. Let's just start off with this. If I take a basketball or a baseball or anything, a projectile, and I throw it towards another human, that human will blink. Why do you blink? Because your body is has self-preservation mechanisms built into itself to protect yourself. Okay, so you blinked. You didn't choose to blink, right? You just blinked. You didn't have a choice. So your body has override systems to protect you because that's its job, and it serves you really well. Blinking is like one of the best forms of service the body could do. There's a lot of different things that the body could actually do that will cause people to have more self-preservation, like people being scared of heights or certain colors in nature that you don't feel right about, just certain things your body tells you, be safe. Now, what's the number one thing in the entire world that the body does for a man to make sure that he's safe and protected, to override all of his systems and everything? There's only one thing really when you think about it, because look at the life of man. We're going to work so hard, we'll accumulate some wealth and have a family. And keep in mind, we're not talking about 2023. We're talking about the origins of the brain and the body thousands and thousands of years ago. Before the Torah was given, before there was civilization and civilized humans on the planet. We're dealing with a period of time right now where it's chaos in the world, and there's people living in tribes, and the strongest one wins. Meaning, if one tribe got too drunk one night, they're going to come over in the desert and raid your camp, raid your village, and raid your tents, take your women, take your gold, take everything. You can't protect yourself. So a man could toil his whole life, become 80 years old, not even be able to wipe himself after he goes to the bathroom, or shower himself, or feed himself. Can't even take care of his basic needs. 80-year-old man, and now he's vulnerable. People are going to come take his assets, his wives, and his children. So how does a man genuinely protect himself in this world? How does the brain prepare a man to be vulnerable at the age of 80? Oh, the brain steps in. The brain's like, oh, I got your back. So what happens? Your brain says, when you're 18 years old and when you're a young teenager, we're going to give you all the hormones in the world. And with these hormones, all you're going to want to do is one thing with these hormones. When you're a teenager, all you're going to want to do is just spread your seed to as many women as possible, because it's fun and it feels great. And this is what all these 18-year-old kids on college campus are doing. They're just trying to go on Tinder and find girls. Why do you think that's actually happening? Because the brain says like this, I got your back. You think you're just having fun and games right now. You think you're just spilling seed and enjoying yourself. It's all fun and games now. But no. You don't realize, bro, when you're 80 years old, you're not going to have any resources to protect yourself. All you're going to have, hopefully, is to have had 10 children, who had 10 children, who had 10 children, and 10 children. So by the time you're 80, you have an army surrounding you. You will be the patriarch, an 80-year-old man. You're not going to have to worry about your neighbors coming and raiding your village or taking your assets. You're safe. You're totally safe. You got a whole entire army around you. You had a few wives who had lots of kids. Each one, you may have thousands of descendants after you. There was a famous rabbi in Israel, Rabbi Eliyahu. He had one wife, or I think he got remarried, but he didn't have that many. He didn't have concubines like they had in the biblical days. But guess what? When he passed away, in his own lifetime, how many of his descendants came to his funeral? Over 1,000. That means over 1,000 humans in his lifetime somehow. So we don't need to be worried about other tribes coming and raping my women and stealing my assets, because we have law and order that the Torah gave us. Great. So I guess I don't need to have 10 wives who have 10 kids each, and who have 10 kids each and 10 kids each. I don't need to have 20,000 humans to comfort me in one lifetime to make sure I'm safe when I'm 80 years old. That's not the way the world works anymore, so I have to have a conversation with my brain. But all this pleasure that you were talking about, that a man tries to feel while spilling a seed, was not a trick, but it was the bait that the brain used to get me to actually make a move to protect myself. But now that I'm already safe, I say back to my brain, I don't need that version of protection to be in place. And so why do we even have to have that conversation in the first place? Because there's actually a very, very great danger in this temptation and this desire that the brain puts into us to spill our seed. And I'll explain to you like this. Let's press pause. Take everything I just said, take a deep breath, and let's hold it in. Now we're going to weave. So, basically, the biggest drug dealer on the entire planet Earth is your brain. Meaning your brain can produce dimethyltryptamine, DMT, the most psychedelic chemical known to humanity. Serotonins and dopamines, all different types of things. Things that cocaine and cannabis and psychedelic plants, if you consume, it would cause you to feel. Your brain doesn't even need that. Your brain can do that for you naturally. Your brain has access to dispense all of these things naturally for yourself. So here we are now. My brain's the biggest drug dealer in the entire world, but he's like holding me back. He's not hooking me up with all the serotonin and dopamines. Perhaps we know people who get depressed or get lonely, or get suicidal, or go ups and downs, anxiety and moods. Why isn't their brain hooking them up with dopamine? If your best friend, if your neighbor had all the goods and you were suffering and they didn't give it to you, you'd be like, bro, what's going on? So brain, why aren't you giving me access to unlimited chemicals that would make me feel extremely relaxed and pleasant? So the answer to this is very simple. Your brain simply says, Harry, you're not in a position in life where I feel you're safe enough to let you do what's called tapping out, meaning if my third eye opens and my brain starts secreting dimethyltryptamine, I'm going to a dream world. I'm going to another deep state place of meditation where I don't know what's going on around me. So that means my surroundings, I'm vulnerable. So if I'm sitting in a lotus position in a deep state of meditation somewhere far off in another galaxy, experiencing a total state of ecstasy just from my inner deep breaths and meditations, that means a wolf or a lion could come right over to me, take a bite out of my neck. Someone could rob me. I'm not here present protecting myself. So my brain says, Harry, you're not safe enough. We don't believe you're safe, so we can't give you access to this. So certain things about deep breathing and meditation, everything, we actually convince our brain we're safe, and we let our brain know we're safe, and our brain, the safer our brain feels, the more chemicals it will give us to enjoy the inside of itself, inside of our mind. Let me give an example how you can understand this. Your brain doesn't actually see what's going on around you. Your eyes send messages to the brain, and your brain paints a picture of the data and the information your eyes are sending. So your brain's not actually seeing. What you're seeing is like a movie screen inside of your head. You're not seeing out of your eyes. You're seeing in your own mind something, and you're making a projection of it. So basically, your brain has no clue what's flying in reality. All it knows is the signals you're sending it. So now hear me out. If a lion or a cheetah was chasing you in the jungle, what would your reaction be? Would you be all chill and zen and be like, let's all meditate and be in a state of peace? No. You're going to be like, let's run. And you're going to be running and you're going to be out of breath. Like, oh my gosh, short breaths, like really short breaths. So all of a sudden you're doing all these short breaths. What happens? Your brain's like, wait a minute. Whoa, you must be in danger. The way you're breathing is an indication that you're not safe. Now that I know you're not safe, guess what? I have anxiety chemicals, panic chemicals, fight or flight chemicals. I'm going to start secreting those chemicals right now to protect you, Harry, to keep you safe. And I'm like, brain, thank you for anxiety. Thank you for all these chemicals of worry and stress. I need them right now to make good decisions to protect me from this lion chasing me. Great. Now, what happens if you're in the middle of a workplace week and you have rent to do and your boss is being mean to you and your wife's yelling at you and you got stress in your life and you don't know what to do? You start to feel under attack. You start to breathe wrong. Oh, guess what happens? You're breathing wrong right now? Your brain doesn't know you're just short on money and you're stuck in a bad workplace situation and the peace in your house is not so great. Your brain thinks a lion's chasing you. So guess what your brain's going to do? Your brain's immediately going to secrete some of those anxiety chemicals, some of those stress chemicals to protect you. But that's not what we needed at that time. We needed to think clearly how to get out of the situation. So what we're actually doing is, by the way we're breathing wrong, we're actually sending messages to our brain that we're not safe. Our brain feels like we're not safe. It's not going to give us certain reward chemicals. It's going to give us fight or flight chemicals. So people are getting all this depression and misdiagnosed and all this stuff. They're just sending their brain the wrong signals that they're not really physically safe. Meanwhile, you're physically safe. You just owe some money, but physically you're safe. You're okay. It's a big difference over there. So that's why even the most fascinating thing is when we describe the nature of the exile in Egypt. What do we say the exile in Egypt was? We call it was an exile of katzer ruach, shortness of breath. We weren't even breathing right in Egypt. That's what was causing us to be in a state of exile. So guess what happens when I sit down now? I do the Wim Hof breathing or something, Deep breathing. I'm actually sending a message to my brain saying, guess what? You are safe, Harry. You're totally safe. You're good. My brain feels safe. It feels relaxed. It's going to give me a few more chemicals that I needed to stay in that state of peace and relaxation. So life really is about hacking your brain to feel as safe as possible, so your brain in return will give you the best drugs that it can give you. Simple as that. Now hear me out. Okay. The more seed a man is spilling in his life, the more he's telling his brain, I haven't found safety yet. Meaning, I'm still creating a tribe to protect my assets. The more seed I'm spilling is the message to the brain saying the more humans have to come for me to protect me and my assets when I'm older, based on the first part of this lecture. So what happens when a man practices seed retention? Every man does in Judaism for half the month, because when the wife is in her state of separation, when she's in her menstruation cycle, that's almost 2 weeks out of the month, you're not touching your wife. And we know, according to Jewish law, the man's seed can only go into his wife, into a kosher woman. It cannot be wasted and spilled in vain for pleasure. It's not allowed. It's forbidden. We'll discuss that. So that means already 2 weeks out of the month we're practicing seed retention. That means the Jewish people for thousands of years have been telling their brain, slow down, we're safe. The brain feels safe, calms down, you get some reward chemicals, It's amazing. So for the nations of the world who don't take that break, you have men who spill their seed every single day of their life, their whole entire life. I'll take a survey, and I bet you a large percentage of those men are in deep states of anxiety, worry, fear, and panic, just simply because it's connected to their part of their body where they're going to not feel safe. The brain says, you're spilling seed, you need more humans, you must not be safe on the planet yet. Hold back your seed, practice seed retention, your brain's like, wait a minute, you may be safe right now. It's an absolutely fascinating reality. So now let's peek over here and take it to the home base right now. First, let's take a deep breath, everyone. We'll breathe through this. So then someone comes to me and says, Harry, wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me every time you spill your seed, you're draining energy, it's dangerous for your brain? You may think those sirens are Israel rocket sirens, but I'm actually in Miami on a business trip. But that is, if you heard the sirens, that is what the rocket sirens sound like in Jerusalem a little bit. So back to wrapping this up. Someone will say to me, Harry, spilling your seed's no good. So why would you ever have a relationship with your wife even? Maybe you shouldn't even do that because you're telling your brain you're not safe. You're like, wait a minute, 1 second, hold on. Your seed is your life force. As a man holds his seed inside of him, that's his life force. When you lose that seed, when you get rid of it, you're losing life force. That's why we're not allowed to spill or waste seed. We're giving our life force over to a darker side. We're giving it over to the world of pleasure and temptation. We're losing life force. It's draining us. But when you're having a relationship with your wife, scientifically and I think spiritually at so many levels, that life force that goes inside of her actually fills her up with life. So really, did you waste something? No, you didn't waste anything. Someone gained something over here. You gave something to someone else, if you think about it. So it's like, imagine this is so crazy. It's like, if I take $10 and I throw it in the garbage, I'm wasting $10. If I take $10 and give it to my wife, I'm giving my wife $10. Oh, I lost $10. I don't look at it as I lost $10. I look at it as I'm giving my wife $10. So the funniest thing is, so someone says back to me, oh, so you know what? We should go into a bar. We should have a pickup line should be like this. You want to pick up a girl. God forbid no one should ever try to do this or go to bars. They're not places where we should be congregating. But if you do go to a bar, you say to a girl, hey, listen, I'm feeling a little vulnerable tonight, and I usually don't do this, but I'm willing to part with some of my life force tonight. It's a tough decision I made, but I'm willing to, so by all means, So in reality, that's what's happening. When a man goes to a bar and has a one-night stand and he loses his life force and the woman gets it, he thinks he's the lucky one, and the woman's like, oh, some guy's just trying to hit him. You just took the guy's life force. Now he's drained. The guy lost big time. He thinks he got lucky going to a bar and having a one-night stand. The guy totally lost out. He's draining his life force. So the thing is, life force is only meant to be given in a way where it's shared, where it's chesed, where it's love and kindness, where you're giving it to someone else. So in this reason, you could deplete it from yourself, no problem. It's not called depleting, it's called sharing. So this is like one aspect I want to discuss. So basically the summary here is if we hold in the life force inside of us and don't waste it, we actually can get spiritually charged from this life force. The life force kind of like ferments inside of us. Imagine the quality of grape juice. If I squeeze grapes every single day, and every single day I squeeze the grape juice, right? Now imagine if I take grapes and I squeeze them and it's juice and I let it sit in a barrel for 2 weeks even with a little yeast. What happens to the grape juice? It ferments and it turns into wine, something I could drink for the next 2 weeks and enjoy and start the fermentation process all over again. So it's the same thing with your seed. When a man goes 2 weeks in Jewish law separating from his wife, he's now fermenting his life force inside of him again. And then all of a sudden, it can be enjoyed, just like grape juice. You're going to drink it every single day. You're going to waste it. It's just going to be grape juice. You're going to have sugar problems later in life. You drink 2 glasses of wine every day, bro, you're going to have a great life. You imagine inviting someone over your house for a bottle of grape juice. You're like, hey, guys, guess what? I got this great bottle of grape juice from the store. Why don't we come over and celebrate? Everyone's going to be like, Harry, bro, I don't think, I'm a little busy. Sorry, I can't come over for grape juice. But imagine if you say to your friends, hey, guys, I got this great aged wine, fermented wine. Everyone's going to be your best friend right over your house because wine is much more enjoyable. Fermented life force, much more enjoyable. So this is advice to men regarding to staying strong with your seed. Now, to kind of like land the ship over here, because we're saying holding in your life force equals more power in a fermented chill. Now, what do you do with your power in fermented chill? This is where Rabbi Nachman comes in. First of all, Rabbi Nachman says, if you do spill your seed, God forbid, and you did fall, the worst thing you could do is bug out and beat yourself up that you fell. So pick yourself right the heck back up and fix yourself up and stay strong. Sheva yipol tzaddik, a righteous person falls 7 times. Meaning there's no such person out there who doesn't sin who's good. You're going to sin, you're going to fall. The greater sin is staying fallen. Pick yourself up and God still loves you. So Rabbi Nachman makes a special prayer called Tikkun HaKlali. When a person does fall, you say this prayer, and it kind of takes away all the guilt and the shame that you've just received from losing your life force for no absolute reason, and it helps you pick yourself up. So it's a recommended and crucial say for everyone. Secondly, now that we've addressed that point, Rabbi Nachman also says that when you bend metal, let's say for an example a hanger, if you bend it rapidly back and forth, what happens? It creates heat. The motion of the movement of the metal creates heat. That's just science. Rabbi Nachman says this hundreds of years ago. So he says, just like the movement of metal creates heat, so too there's another type of movement that creates heat. What type of movement is that, Rabbi Nachman? Similarly, just like the motion of intercourse with a man and a woman creates the seed being released, the motion creates the seed being released. In the spiritual realm, Rabbi Nachman teaches us that the motion of our thoughts creates a release as well. Explain more, Harry. Sure, I got you. I'll explain a little more. Rabbi Nachman tells us all about it. Like this. When we think a rapid process of thoughts, just like in intercourse, there's movement. If there's movement in our minds, like back and forth of thoughts going in and going out, these thoughts of spirituality and holiness, he says that creates a heat. And he says that heat creates an explosion. Just like the seed coming out, he says there's an explosion where? In the constellations, in the cosmos themselves, some explosion of light, and it shoots and blasts down on us on the planet in the form of shefa, in the form of these, scientifically, we could probably call them all the beta and gamma rays and delta and alpha, all these rays, different spectrum of rays shooting at us, hitting us from different planets all around the system. He said you actually cause certain blasts of light through the rapid motion of your thoughts. Oh, that doesn't make so much sense, Harry. Well, let me give you an analogy then. Look at a lake. You've got a lake over here. Lake has evaporation. The water rises from the lake, stays in the clouds, forms a cloud, and then comes right back down on the earth. The same thing with our thoughts. Our thoughts stay in our head, they ruminate, they go into the heavens, become mazel, boom, comes right back down on us. So if your thoughts are in the wrong place, you're going to have the wrong mazel. If your thoughts are in the right place, you will have the right mazel. So my advice to all my brothers and sisters out there, you got some guys coming to me, I'm struggling with income, I don't have peace in my house, my wife this, I'm struggling here, I'm struggling there. I'm like, oh, straight up, I'm just going to get to the point. You got a pornography addiction? Are you spilling your seed in vain? Are you wasting seed? Yeah. Oh, man, I struggle with that big time. I'm like, don't even come to me then. What are you wasting your time? There's nothing I could tell you in the world, any advice or any healing work I could give you. It's like trying to say, Rabbi, I got this bathtub, and for some strange reason, there's no water staying in the tub when I fill it up. I'm like, I need to fix my plumbing. I'm like, are you putting the plug in the bathtub when you fill it up? No. Don't talk to me about fixing your plumbing if you didn't even plug in the bathtub to stop the water from draining out. That's why it's called in Torah Yesod, the foundation. Your brick, your covenant with God is called a foundation. That's where the source of your life force is. You want to keep it plugged in? Fine, you'll be flying. You want to unplug it? You're going to be suffering big time, bro. I promise you. I'm on the front lines of dealing with this. So here we have a situation over here where Yaakov Avinu, we learned from Yaakov, he had Yesod, he had Tiferet, Rabbi Nachman teaches us, meaning he had the power of prayer. He was able to wield the sword of prayer. What does that mean? It means he was like Rabbi Nachman. He was able to ruminate in thoughts that created heat in the heavens, that bursted and created mazel, that came down in the form of whatever he wanted. Yaakov Avinu was self-manifesting because his seed was pure. We know this about him. So my advice to everyone is ferment your seed, A, then use your mind to think about the things that you want to see in this world. Use your mind for holy good reasons. Create combustions and explosions in outer space that come down on the world. And when you do pray for things, do not pray for just yourself. Include everyone. Because just like the sun, is there such a thing as like not enough sunlight to share between a city? No, everyone has equal access to the sun. It's not like, oh, I get 5 rays, you get 1 ray. There's a shortage of sun rays. No. So there's no shortage of explosions from these galaxies or stars that Rabbi Nachman's talking about that we create from the heat of our mind. There's no shortage of them. So we could actually explode enough light for the whole planet. So think big. If you want to pray for yourself, don't pray for yourself. Pray for your family, and you're included. You want to pray for your family? Don't pray for your family. Pray for your tribe. Your family's included. Don't pray for your tribe. Pray for humanity, because then your tribe will be included. This is how we level up. This is how we stay spiritual. And it's a process to ferment. If someone puts up a batch of grape juice and comes to me 2 days later and he's like, oh man, come chase my wine, I'd be like, hey, slow down over there, no pressure. I know it will become wine. Right now it's just grape juice. It says, Ezu chacham haroa es hanoilad. Who's a wise man or a human? Someone who sees the outcome of things. If the outcome of this batch of grape juice will be wine, I know it'll be wine. I'll come back when it's wine. There's no pressure. So for you who are trying to make money, grow, have mazel, and bring blessings into your life, and keeping your seed kosher and strong, it's not an overnight thing, so don't bug out. It's a fermentation. Just hold strong. Don't look at inappropriate things. Guard your eyes. That's like, when you want to go off drugs, heroin addict, you don't put a needle next to him. So if you want to guard yourself, don't, guard your eyes. If a naked lady comes on TV, guys, and your brain starts to react and saying, hey, let's go into self-preservation mode and spill my seed, because that's how we're hardwired to do it. Flex your muscles, man. Look at the top left corner of the screen and see if there's like a tree in the scene. You're watching Game of Thrones. Look at the tree in the corner for a second and be like, I'm a Jedi spiritual warrior. I'm choosing what to look at. I am not a slave to what my brain from 4,000 years ago makes me want to look at, because I'm in a dire need to self-preserve myself and feel safe. I'm safe. I'm looking at that tree. I'm not looking at this inappropriate thing. I'm guarding my eyes. Make it much easier for you to guard your covenant. You guard your covenant. You bring God into your life. This is a 30-minute discourse on a little bit of life hacking on how to level up your chill. Once you ferment your seed long enough, your chill gets stronger. You can get to hopefully what we call the super chill. No mood swings, no frustrations, no anxieties. You're just chilling. You're just in a state of peace, like I've been, thank God, for about 20 years. And here we go. The 30 minutes is up. Feel free to reach out to me, slide into my DMs if you need any advice on how to keep your seed pure. This message is really for men, but if there's any women watching here, please be careful dressing immodestly. The more immodest you dress, men are immature. Yes, I agree. You should be able to walk around the world naked, lady girls. I agree. It's a free world. You should be able to. But unfortunately, your masculine counterparts here are still monkey animals with archaic brains, and we're not mature enough to handle you being immodest. So please dress modestly to make our job of being spiritually pure and making money for you to provide a lot easier. Let's go. Oh, I see Adam and Hooters in here, Yehuda in here. I shouldn't have said Hooters in here. It's a nickname for Yehuda because it's not an appropriate name for this conversation. But this is actually a Facebook Live that's going to be reshared. So you guys are here now, but this is going to be reshared. I love you guys. Over and out.